The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm joined by Steve Nash, right, from the Steve Nash team, the #1 Keller Williams team in the Clarksville, Hopkinsville, and Fort Campbell areas, with over 2 decades of experience and a reputation for exceptional service. Steve has earned a spot in the top 1% of realtors nationwide. He's a military veteran and a VA loan expert. Steve brings unmatched dedication, strong negotiation skills, and a marketing strategy that gets results in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, Steve and his team are ready when you are. 7 days a week. My goodness. Let's jump into the story behind their continued success. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
So let's have a little bit of your backstory, though. What initially inspired you to go into real estate in the beginning?
I've sort of probably heard that before. A lot of times people get in the military, they do their service, and when they get out, there is a lacking because there's a lack of direction. You don't really know what to do when you first get out. Your skills, will they transfer into the civilian side? And so with me, when I got out, I thought, well, let me get into something of sales. I had a upper ranking NCO, a non-commissioned officer, that had said, I think you would be very, very good in the sales aspect of things. And so I valued his opinion, trusted him very much. And so I gave it a try. And where I came from, I'm originally from Seattle. And in Seattle, people had real estate booths in the mall. And I thought, oh, well, that was so common. It was so common. So when I came to what's in Clarksville, Tennessee area, there's one mall and there's no real estate booths. Now I'm a 22-year-old kid. And I'm like, I see potential. The opportunity is here. And I'm going to make millions. And well, it didn't go that way that first year. I sold 10 homes and like, wow, 10 homes. And that was interesting. So, but that's really what it came into. It was, I could speak very plainly to someone. I resonate well with a soldier's family, because they want no nonsense. Just tell me the truth, be direct. Here's what I need. Here's what I want, and do what you say. That's really all you have to do to be successful in really any career. But realistically, with real estate and with this community, that's what it took. And then it grew, and I was there for a long, long time. And it's been fantastic. It's been fun.
Do you have a booth in the mall?
Okay, so I do not any longer. So I had it for 16 years, and then I had so I actually had an inline. So it started with the booth, and it was just small, little fold-out table. It wasn't even a booth. My initial thing was a fold-out cafeteria table, and it went from a fold-out cafeteria table to an actual booth to interactive stuff. But then from there, they gave me the opportunity to get an inline store, and I thought, well, that'd be interesting. So I got an inline store, and the concept wasn't to sell at all. It's just provide information. So we put an inline store in there. I put a giant, huge saltwater fish tank that became the main display of that. So people would come in and they could see, Dory and all that. It was timing up with all that stuff. They loved it.
Yeah.
They'd see the fish, they would see the blowfish. It's everything. It was so beautiful. And that just became a thing. And then eventually had the opportunity to grow to have 2 inline stores. So we had 2 there and the booth, and had that forever. But you got to keep in mind that this was in 2000. So this was pre-September 11th. This was pre-everything. And back then we didn't even have the MLS. So that the database that you can now go on, we're so connected. It's fantastic. So I don't want to say all the information's the same, because that's really simplifying it. But person B over in Texas is going to see what person C in Jersey is going to see realistically. You might have a couple things that are coming on the market, but the vast majority is so interconnected that they can have it. That's not our value. Our value is navigating you through that so that it's not stressful, it's not scary, and it becomes a very easy, clear process. So that's where the value is. And I lost my train of thought of where we were going with that so there was no real tracks. So you literally had no database. Like you would be like, you got a book in the mail and you'd be like, okay, they want a 3-bedroom, and you're flipping through a book. This was not online. Well, then you got Zillow, realtor.com, you got the homes.com, you have the databases that went out there with the MLS system. And that really changed the walk-up model of, in the mall situation, every single person I got to see eye to eye. You got to talk to, you got to feel, you got to hear their story. And the whole concept is, what's your why? What's your why on why you're even doing this? And when you understand that, you can then transition that into, okay, I can help you because I don't have to sell you. You're telling me what you want. If I can provide that, great.
Perfect. So, well, what a journey, and how different things are now. As you said, we are so interconnected. I mean, so for you, because you've been in the real estate game for over 2 decades, what's one lesson that still shapes how you do business today? What's one thing that you've taken from those times?
Treat everybody the same. So that is huge. When you first get into anything, I would say sales in particular, people are looking at someone off of how they dress, maybe what they drive, things like that. And then that has no bearing on someone's dreams, aspirations, and desire of where they're going to go. There is so many people that I sold a home. This is, of course, years ago. You could buy a home for $50,000. So we had new construction all day long for $55,000 back then. And these same people now buy $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes. And we still to this day will sell an $80,000 home happily, because that route is everything kept growing. So it was understand that. One of my first experiences with a husband and wife, long haul truckers, and just fantastic people. But they came up and they asked some questions, and they ended up, buying at the time, which was my highest sale. And it would have, if you were to be judging on appearances, you would have just not understood anything. Take the people that just listen to what they're saying, and if you can help them, fantastic. And if you can't help them, point them in the direction of someone that can. That's the key, because that will help the word of your name.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's massive. And yes, it's a shame that more people don't act in that way. But for you, with your military background, do you feel that has influenced the way you serve your clients, especially, I suppose, those going through relocations or maybe using VA loans?
Very much so. So I think the thing with our market in particular is just people want direct, honest answers. If you can give someone direct, they don't, and that's, I think, the biggest key that you're going to learn is, and I don't care what field it is, but in your field, you're going to know the right answer, but someone's not going to listen to you. They just won't. And it doesn't matter if not everyone, but there are people that just won't listen. And you have to understand that it's not your job necessarily to be someone's friend. It's your job to get the outcome that they're looking for. And I relate it to a surgeon. A surgeon doesn't say, man, I'm gonna have to cut them open. Oh boy, they're gonna be in pain. They're gonna have to heal. Oh, that bill's gonna be expensive. They're like, hey, this is the process to get you healed, to get you to the quality of life that you want, to make you feel good. And when you can understand that and just say, you may not want to hear this, but it's the truth. And then I give you the truth. You'll say, what's my options? I give you the options. Now, whatever move you make, that's your move. But it is my job to tell you the hard news along with the good news. Hey, the home's great. Your offer was accepted. The inspection was fantastic. You got the backyard you want. Kids are happy, like all that. That's wonderful. But it's also the job to do the hard news, because the hard news may say, we need to stop this one, and we're going to find the home that's right for you. So.
Yeah. I get that. It is about the listening, and not treating everything as purely a transaction, but doing everything for the right reasons. Fantastic. And again, not everybody does treat it like that, in that way, and which is why realtors don't always have a great name that many do actually deserve. So for you, look, it's a shifting market, right? So what's one strategy that your team uses to consistently stay at the top and get homes sold quickly?
marketing. I mean, it comes down to not being afraid to think outside of the box, be creative, have a very, very, very strong context with lenders and with different people that are going to be throughout the process that can make something easier. We may be able to look at someone's going to put $30,000 down, let's say on a home, or 10,000, and they're trying to get to where they want to be. However, that move only saves them, $100, let's say. It's what it saves you isn't worth it. Where if they could put that $10,000 down, pay off their credit cards, pay off their car, do something that's having a long-term effect to them overall, is going to drastically change their financial ability. So I would say be willing to be creative and then think out of the box for the marketing, and then stay the course, because there's some things that are basic. Go out. 3 days ago, I went out to this home we just got listed, and it was in a rental, but the gentleman's like, I'm ready to sell. I go out there, and it had the worst bushes ever. Like, I mean, beautiful bushes, but just blown up. And I thought, this is beautiful. Like, it's a thick, strong, nice, healthy shrubbery in this home. So I was like, I'm coming back the next day because we're getting photos taken. Went out there with the trimmer. I asked him, hey, do you mind if He said, yeah, absolutely. Literally shaped this whole thing up. It looks fantastic in the pictures, and understand that your job's not just to sell a home, but you might be the landscaper that day, and one day you might be the therapist. It's your job is just to listen and to hear. But you will wear many, many hats. And then I personally like that in particular aspect of like doing your artwork. So that's fun for me. But that's really, understand it.
That's going the extra. That's going the extra mile, man. That is going the extra mile.
I did 2 in one day, which is really unique. But one of my team members came back, and they were looking at a home at one of ours. They said, hey, the trees are hanging down in the front. And I'm like, it's a beautiful home, beautiful. So I go by and look at it. I'm like, she's correct. So I, of course, reach out to the sellers. Do you mind? They're like, no, have at it. Trim it up. Beautiful. But yes, it's making sure you do the things that you enjoy as well. So I'm sure if I hated that, I probably.
Yeah, you're not going to do it. But then I'm sure your reputation is getting out there for doing these things, because not every realtor, I'm sure, sorry, but not every realtor I speak to are taking these extra steps to help their clients. And
it's a basic. They should do some of these things, especially if it's going to sell it quick.
Yeah, that's helping them. So I hope you guys are listening there. Get your strimmer out next time. So
we got a listing off of one of the things like that. One of my team members, she actually, that was because the guy called and said, I want to talk to, there was a lady here that was under this house. And I thought, I could just immediately, I thought, I know who this is. And I said, did you go into this? Yeah, I was really curious about under the home, so I wanted to check it out. And I'm like, now that's not me. I don't want to get under there and climb under their home and run around, but we literally got a listing from a person that nothing to do with us, saw an agent under the home going, why are you under there? Well, there was a big storm, and I was just curious, is it holding water? Is there anything out here? And that's pretty interesting to see that the consumer does pay attention to that stuff.
There you go. And look, Steve, is this true? You're available 7 days a week. How do you balance that level of service while still leading such a high performing team?
Okay. Yes, that is absolutely true. So one of the things that I do that's unique to some mega teams out there is my cell phone goes on everything. So I absolutely put my number. I personally have a feeling that if I'm doing business with your company, and I don't really care what business I'm doing. I mean, maybe not if I'm buying ice cream, but in general, if it's a high profile thing at all, I want to make sure that I can get a hold of the owner. Like, can I get a hold of the head person? I want to get them on the phone. And so I overcome a lot of that concern that a consumer might have on the front end just by putting my personal cell number on every single thing. That's extremely important to me. The other thing is I have wildly talented, fantastic team members. So I mean, I have really, really good people that I will say, hey, here you go. Here's a lead. Here's a person that's ready to go. This is a person that wants to know that. Because sometimes it's not necessarily they want to deal with me personally. They just want to deal with the team that they know is going to be able to maybe negotiate some of the extras in for them. And that's in particular going to be there. If you go back to 21, 22, the market was absurd. And it's, hey, I want to go see this home right now. And well, what do you mean by right now? They're like, well, I'm sitting here. Awesome. And so, and if you don't, then they just hang up, they'll call someone else, not realizing they think we're all the same. So they call someone else. So it's a matter of making sure that you're available. As far as balance, I do turn my phone off when I go to sleep. That's important to me. I turn it off when I don't bring it into church. So like those are the things, but that's really about it. Other than that, it's important to be available, and it just comes with the lifestyle.
Amazing. And you look, what does it take to be the number one Keller Williams team in Clarksville? I mean, what does that mean? How many transactions are you guys doing in a year?
Well, so I want to clarify on that. We were the number one team 17, 18, 19, 20. Then we hit COVID. And then and that was Clarksville, Hopkinsville, Oak Grove, the whole Fort Campbell area. So it was everything. And when people go number one, they always have some weird caveat. This was by MLS data, like factual. Here you go. This is transactions closed. But then we went through COVID. It slowed down. And so right now, I think we were number 3 as of right now. And that's just a matter of we had some of our like one of my biggest builders, his wife actually got licensed, and all that business went with that. And they're on a fantastic team as well. I would say that's the cool thing about Clarksville is there is a lot of fantastic agents. There is very, very high quality agents. And there's a difference in agents. You might find an agent that's, of course, many high quality, but that's high quality, high energy. Someone may want someone that's, of course, everyone wants high quality, but high quality, but that's maybe more analytical. And so it's just depending on finding the right agent that best meshes with you. Some people say, hey, I don't want to do Texas. But as far as doing that, when it was a down year, last year was somewhere in the 100-ish transactions. Before that, we were doing 200-300. So it can be fantastic. And then the cool thing about that is it's a break. You might have 50 over here and 50%. So it's not all listing heavy. It's, like I said, we'll sell a home that's 60, 70, $80,000 just as quick as we had one last month was 800. So it's a matter of this month actually. And that's fine. We don't care if it's here, it's great. If it's here, it's great. Because they are the same. And what will happen is down the road, this person will buy again. And, in that one, that's the 800. Well, that one was a multi-time repeat client that just as life has progressed through him, they've bought more and more and more. And that's the goal that you want. But sometimes I would say that people want convenience over care, and they don't necessarily know that. So they just pick up a phone, whoever answers, that's who gets it. And I would wish that people would take more time to read and talk, and also shoot their person a text. Like if they've got a couple people in line, I'm debating between these 3 agents, shoot them all a text. Who's the first to respond? Doesn't mean the first is the best, but if someone responds in a timely manner, let's say they all respond within 30 minutes. Fantastic. If I got a listing the other day, the person left me a message. I was on the phone, so I shot them a text. When I called her back, she said, I actually told my husband at that moment, yep, I'm going to be listening to this person. He sent me a text saying he would be reaching right back out. And then he called me within 5 minutes of that. But I would say that's the key. Test that, call them, make sure that you jive, and also be direct. It's okay. I turned down a listing 2 days ago where the person they'd asked me to do some stuff for them. Of course, we made sure we did it in a very, very quick time frame. Then they same day kind of thing. Then they asked me a little bit later. They didn't do anything with us. They went with a different agent, no problem. Then they asked again for a different property. They said, well, if you could do this, then we do it with you. Perfect. I did it again. Don't hear back from them. 9 days later, they call me and they said they're investors, and they said, hey, we would like you to list this. And I just said, I do apologize. I appreciate it. I love that you called me, but that's not how we do business. We're not going to go. It's very difficult for us. We can't go 9 days without getting replies to calls and texts, because we cannot service you as our client if you're not returning calls and texts. Like that's it. You're going to ask us for stuff, and we're going to provide that high level of stuff, but we're going to service, and we're going to do that in return. That we need that same respect back, as far as, calling us back, returning a call, answering our questions, because much of real estate is time sensitive. So that's where that comes into play.
So it sounds like you've also, so it sounds like you've also got to set your boundaries. You've got to set your boundaries. So what's next for Steve and his team then? What are your goals for this year moving forwards?
This year, we're going to get into YouTube. We're going to do some YouTube, and then we're going to potentially do a podcast as well. So I think it's the growth of getting into this venue, getting on the social media side. my office manager's been here forever and she's fantastic. And I'm like, you put these things up and you get like just a few likes and a few shares and what, but basically not a lot of stuff. And she's like, that's not the point. The point is you're giving out relevant information to people and it's consistent. And that's what you have to don't lose sight of is the consistency of being in front of people with valuable information.
Absolutely. And trust me, they're watching, right? Everybody's going for the ego metrics, I call them. They're ego
Oh, I love
metrics.
that.
Just because they're not liking or commenting doesn't mean they're not tuning in and they're listening. And that's what you've got to remember is to consistently show up and serve those who need your help and guidance. So, well, here at Icons, we are not just a podcast. We're the #1 real estate podcast network, and we are passionate about making podcasting accessible to anybody involved in the business of real estate because we love it. And it is a great way to get your message out there. So, Steve, you and your team, if you were to then launch a podcast, do you have a name for it yet? What would you call it?
I think it would be what's your why.
What's your why?
So my website's whymove.com. And the concept to that is always what's your why? And by understanding what someone's looking to achieve, we can help them reach that goal. And that why may be they're downsizing, they're upsizing, they're PCSing from a different military base, they're ETSing, divorce, death. I mean, sometimes moving is not from a happy place, but it has to happen. And then what's the why? Maybe they want to have kids, maybe they have pets and they want to have just access to more stuff. And I think that understanding the why to something has zero then to do with the selling side. I mean, well, it helps us sell, but I mean, the zero on the podcasting side would be, I'm not trying to pitch to make money. I'm not trying to pitch to sell a home. You're literally understanding what are you trying to do? What is your why? It becomes personal to that individual. And I think that that's a fantastic way to tell stories and share information that is not selling based. So that would be
Perfect. Love it. Perfect. And well, I'd like to see it come into fruition. And finally, if anybody's looking to buy or sell in your area, it's Clarksville or wherever, how do they reach you or your team? Where do they find you?
Well, they can call me anytime. Of course, they can go to an easiest way to get my information is just whymove.com. But if they want to give me a call or text me to set up a free 15-minute consultation, I'd be happy to speak with anybody, just hear them out, anything that they need. We do have buyer's guides. We have seller's guides. There's a lot of different things that we can offer for information to give out for free. But it's just in any of those ways. Easiest way is Google Steve Nash. Yeah, just Google Steve Nash, like the basketball player, but realtor.
Awesome. And Steve's details will be in the show notes, so resort back to those. Steve, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today. This has been fun too. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.